بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف خلق الله سيدنا ومولانا وعظيمنا وحبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. This recording is going to be copyright. Number one. Number two, it is for non-Arabic speakers, for those who have newly joined Islam, who have newly affiliated with Islam. We will begin by highlighting the books. We will start by the first one of them, which is fasting Ramadan. In this book, we will be able to know all about the Islamic rulings of one of the pillars of Islam, which is Ramadan. Next to that, we shall have full coverage of the following topics. The subtopics are the definition of fasting. Who must fast the month of Ramadan? Not every Jack and Jill can fast the month of Ramadan. The fasting of children. The essential, important, significant practices of fasting. The fasting of women. Things that break the fast. Highly recommended days of fasting. Days on which it is forbidden to fast, particularly for women. Standing in prayer at night during Ramadan. I'tikaf, which is translated, paraphrased as spiritual seclusion. I'tikaf. Next to this one, we will also be able to highlight this book, Polister Up Your Fragile Faith. Polister up your fragile faith. Polister up your weak faith. Strengthen your weak faith. Also, in this book, when you feel that your faith is fragile, try to have recourse to this authentic reference. We will also highlight the full coverage of the following topics. First, symptoms of fragile faith. Subtitles are becoming sinful and committing evil deeds. Hardness of heart. Laziness and negligence in being obedient to Allah and performing acts of worship. Not realizing the importance of good deeds. Cutting ties of brotherhood. Feeling no responsibility to work for Islam. All these subtitles are the symptoms of fragile faith. أعراض لضعف الإيمان. The next one, the next title, Causes of Fragile Faith, it also has subtitles, which are being away from a spiritual environment for a long time. Lack of good models. Abandoning, leaving out the search for religious knowledge. Staying in a place swarming with sin. These are also the causes. Those were the symptoms but these are the causes. The cure for fragile faith and how to cure all of the symptoms and all of the causes. Contemplating the glorious Quran. Contemplating means thinking deep in the meanings and teachings of the Holy Quran. Contemplating the Quran, the glorious Quran, reciting the Holy Quran, but during the recitation you have to distinguish the meanings. If there are warnings, you have to stop. If there are good revelations, you have to proceed. Then, being filled with the greatness of Allah, the Almighty, the Omnipotent and Majestic, seeking knowledge of the religion, regular attendance of gatherings for the remembrance of Allah, doing a lot of good deeds and filling one's time doing them, worrying that your final deed in this world might be bad, frequent remembrance of death. Hadim al-Lazat, we have to remind ourselves of death, remembering what will happen on the last day, on the day of resurrection, on the day of judgment, Yawm al-Qiyamah. And also, let us highlight the third book, which is Teach Your Children How to Pray. Teach your children how to pray. Teach the children how to perform the second pillar of Islam. We will also have a full coverage, as we have highlighted the two other before. We will have the full coverage of the following topics in teaching your children how to pray. Habituating children to perform salah. This is very important. كيف نروض الأطفال على هذه الصلاة ونعلمهم كما قال المصطفى عليه الصلاة والسلام: مروهم عليها ل7 واضربوهم ل10، أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. The stages of teaching children how to pray. There are stages. You don't have to be harsh on your children. Pray means pray. No. You have to be kind, as Al-Mustafa alayhi salatu wasalam was. The stages of teaching children how to pray: urging the children to pray. Urging يعني asking them kindly. أحثهم. Observing kindness while instructing children. We have to observe kindness while teaching our children. Legal rulings on salah such as the essential practices of wudu, ablution. The essential practices of ablution, the essential and sunnah practices of salah, acts that nullify salah, acts that are permissible while performing salah, and also the main topic here is purposeful supererogatory prayers, such as salah of istikhara, salah of al-hajjah, salat al-hajjah, salah of kusuf and khusuf, which is eclipse, moon eclipse and sun eclipse in English. Janaza prayer, salat al-janaza. All of these subtopics have to be known by a Muslim before death. And now let us have the next one, which is passage to paradise, which will never be lost. الطريق إلى الجنة. We have also covered a lot of channels that lead you to paradise, the eternal bliss. Paradise is the eternal bliss. النعيم الدائم, النعيم السرمدي. In this book, which covers a lot of channels that lead you to paradise, which is the eternal bliss, these channels include sincerity with Allah, al-ikhlas مع المولى عز وجل, patience in obedience to Allah and with what He has fated. لا بد على الصبر, لا حيلة في القضاء إلا الصبر. Patience in obedience to Allah and with what He has fated. Truthfulness in words, deeds and beliefs. Fearing Allah, the Almighty and Sublime. Steadfastly and continuously following the orders of Allah. Frequently going to mosques for the remembrance of Allah and to perform the prayers in congregational prayers, Salat al-Jama'ah. Following the Sunnah, guiding others to good deeds and to the straight way, to the straight path, طريق المستقيم. Counseling, concealing the faults of Muslims, concealing the faults of Muslims, أغض الطرف عن أخطاء المسلمين, and protecting their privacy وحماية خصوصياتهم. Fulfilling the needs of Muslims, modesty and humbleness, تواضع, من تواضع لله رفعه. And the fourth one is the description of paradise. The upcoming one is the description of paradise. That was the passage to paradise, الطريق إلى الجنة, but this one is the description of paradise, which most of it will be unseen. We will believe in the unseen. هذا التصديق بالغيبيات. In English, the unseen هو الغيب, the unseen. We shall have full coverage of the following topics in this book. They are the fragrance of paradise, عبير الجنة نفحنا الله به. The gates of paradise, أبواب الجنة الثمان. The first person to enter paradise, أول من يدخل الجنة. The people of the lowest degree in paradise. The levels of paradise. The buildings and soul of paradise. The palaces, chambers, and pavilions in paradise. The rivers and fountains of paradise. The description of the Prophet's fountain. The trees of paradise. The food and drinks of the righteous people of paradise. جعلنا الله منهم. The attire of the righteous people of paradise. You know, all of these things we shall explain, but this is the list of chronological order for the highlighting of the topics. Then we will try to tailor cut the topics accordingly. Next, we come to marriage in Islam. We will also have a full coverage of the following topics: Marriage is one of the Prophet's traditions. La rahbaniyata fil Islam. The virtues of a righteous wife: marrying a man for what he has memorized from the Holy Quran without a dowry. Marrying a man for what he has memorized from the Holy Quran. ما يحفظه المرء من الإسلام كان المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم يزوج به الرجال بما يحفظونه من الكتاب الله without a dowry, دون ما مهر. Wedding ceremonies as stated in the Sunnah. Intercourse with one's wife is rewarded as an act of charity. Ya salam. Islam afif. Intercourse with your wife is rewarded as an act of charity, as adultery is forbidden. Likewise, intercourse with your wife is rewarded as an act of charity, and charity begins at home. Things which should be observed by a Muslim husband: selecting a spouse, اختيار الزوجة أو الزوج. Marriage as opposed to promiscuity. Marriage as opposed to promiscuity. Living with your wife with kindness. Living with one's wife with kindness. And the last book here is Home First, with regard to a woman in particular. Home First. We shall have full coverage of the following topics also. Choosing a virtuous wife. This is very important. اظفر بذات الدين تربت يداك. Making the house a place for the remembrance of Allah. Faith-based education for all members of the household, of the family. Creating a basic Islamic library at home. This is very important. Inviting the pious and the scholars to your house. Devoting time to family meetings. Concealing husband-wife disagreements from children. You have to hide your dispute, your conflicts, if you have one with your wife or with your husband, from children. Paying attention to the children at home. Keeping the secrets of the houses. Spreading a spirit of kindness. Spreading a spirit of kindness throughout the house. بث روح التعاطف داخل البيت. Helping family members with housework كما كان يفعل المصطفى عليه الصلاة والسلام. And in general, this book has to be highlighted here. Remembrance of Allah, dhikrullah, for all people. Never forget to always remember Allah and thank Him for His bounties and graces. ما حبانا به من نعم سبحانه وتعالى. This book here covers the following topics: excellence of the remembrance of Allah and the exhortation to it. Excellence of the remembrance of Allah and the exhortation to it. The reward for constant remembrance of Allah. The formulas for the remembrance of Allah in the following cases: during prayer, after the prescribed prayers, salawat al-maktuba, after tashahhud, while bowing and prostrating في السجود في الخشوع في الانحناء الركوع, before having sexual intercourse with your wife, upon going to bed and waking up, the excellence of remembering Allah in assembly في الملأ, ذكر الله في ملأ, formulas of remembering Allah in the morning and evening, seeking Allah's refuge from diseases, invoking Allah for guidance and protection from evils, the invocations of the prophets, may Allah peace and blessings be upon them all, the excellence of invocation and its best time, invoking Allah at time of distress, تذكر الله سبحانه وتعالى في الشدة, نتذكره في الشدة لكي يتذكرنا في كل أوقاتنا, تذكر الله سبحانه وتعالى في distress الشدة لتذكرنا في الرخاء والعكس. And also for newly born Muslims, for the new recruits of Islam, we have to present the following: come to Islam, please come to Islam. Also a 4-module primer for non-Muslims and the new converts covers the following topics. First module, why Islam? The laws of science and life cycles, the sun, the moon and the earth, food and hygiene, prophecies fulfilled. Second module, Islam in brief. What is Islam? Definition. Articles of faith, worship, practice. Islam is a globe. Islam is a code of life. Third module, Shahadatan. There is no God but Allah. Allah has no son. The humanity of Jesus, Muhammad, the prophecy of Moses and Jesus. Fourth module covers your way to Islam. What do you say to declare your conversion to Islam if you are a newly convert to Islam? How to become a better Muslim? How to protect your Islam? How to invite others to Islam? You know, these were the top titles and the main titles. There are also subtitles which have to be explained whenever the need arises. We give this list to whoever is interested in what we are doing, for universities, for high institutions, for people in foundations, Islamic foundations, for free. We give it for free. We seek refuge in Allah, guidance. We seek His mercy subhanahu wa ta'ala. We take no penny from anyone. We take no penny from anyone. Anyone here means anybody. أي جهة, أي إنسان. We don't need any money for that. We do it for free. We just give them the list. We give them the list, and then we start. And then Allah, the Almighty, the Omnipotent, will reward us, and we are sure about that 100%. Thank you very much for enjoying this recording. And I'm not going to mention my name because I want this to be as philanthropy. A philanthropist does not mention one's name, and I am a philanthropist. But for the sake of convenience, I will give my telephone number. It's 09121 06888, and another cell phone line 0123 894342. Again, let me highlight the telephone numbers. The first one 09121 8688. This is the first one. The second one is 0123 894342. Thank you once again. As I told you, I'm a philanthropist. Please, if you are interested, call me on one of these lines. If you aren't interested, please try to pray for me, just to ask Allah, the Almighty, to give me life so that I can finish this work which is going to be bestowed upon my shoulders. Thanks once again.